Hi, everyone. We're in the show In Your Element, in which I highlight leaders in their fields. I ask them element questions so that we can all learn to love them more. And oh my gosh, I have one of my fairy godmother angels on the show today. I don't know what probably 100 people would do without her, because she's that person that puts gold dust on everyone she meets that she cares for. Amy Griffin, managing partner and founder of G9 Ventures. Welcome to In Your Element.
Well, that is such a kind intro, and I would say the same. And I would say it's hard to have someone tell you how they can actually do something for you. That's definitely one of my weaknesses, I'm sure you'll ask me about. But Jennifer, I'm so honored to have you in my life and to have you as a dear friend and to have your wise counsel.
Excellent. So how can people find you if they want to find you?
Find me at my Instagram, Amy Griffin. I'm just Amy Griffin, AMY, and then Griffin, Griffin. And you can also find G9 Ventures just to see what we're up to, and have been investing in consumer businesses for the last 10 years. And I'm so proud of what we've accomplished and all the businesses we're helping move forward and amplify.
Excellent. Your first question, fire. What fuels your inner fire?
Well, it also goes back to my investing, but helping others achieve greatness, moving things forward, staying curious. And then the number one thing for me, which I think shines through both on the personal and the professional front, is authenticity. Is I try to read a room the second that I walk in, and if someone speaks authentically, I can feel it, and I lean into that.
Excellent. Earth, how do you stay grounded?
That one is so easy for me, because any kind of movement, like any kind of exercise, any kind of movement, being in nature, having my feet in the sand, walking. And then for me, in terms of exercise, swimming, just being in the water is completely my holy grail, any kind of being in water.
Thank you. So the air question is, what's one of your guiding principles of life?
Well, I decided to go with a quote for this one because I love it. It's from a source that is in a movie, but it's you've always had the power, my dear, but you just had to believe it for yourself, which is Glinda the Good Witch. And I love that quote. And it's so true for so many women, including myself.
It's more important now than ever. And the water question is, what actually melts or opens your heart?
Well, I was excited when I read this question, because I actually attended the University of Virginia, where acts of kindness and service, which was actually a mandate that I think was started with Thomas Jefferson, which was believed that doing things for others doesn't have to be recognized. And so there was a lot of different organizations, secret societies, that actually did things for people at all different times of the day and night for other students that you didn't have to be recognized for. So I think doing something out of the goodness of your heart, I get something back from doing something for someone else, and that really builds me up.
Beautiful.
Really opens my heart.
Amy, what outrages you?
Oh, this one is I actually read this to a colleague yesterday on a flight home from a trip, and she said, "Oh yeah, that's definitely your hot button." And it's the cover up of a white lie.
I feel you. And that goes on all the time right now. So you might be outraged quite a bit.
I mean, just the cover up, just go ahead and admit that we all have faults. We all make mistakes. The cover up is what kills you.
Yeah. And it also is what actually doesn't evolve humanity. To me, the biggest flaw in the system so far is people not owning their mistakes, so we can't learn from them.
Well, we're all flawed. So when we don't own our mistakes, we don't learn from them. Absolutely.
Okay. Next question. What calms you down?
Well, this goes back to the water. Definitely taking a long bath, touch, and then chocolate chip cookies.
I love that. Okay. Who or what do you go to, listen to, read for inspiration?
There's so many, but I was going to say you have been inspiring to me for so long. Byron Katie, Glennon Doyle.
Yeah.
Cleo Wade, through her words. Tara Brock. Yeah. Poppy Harlow's Boss Files. How I Built This. I just love hearing how people build their companies. That really that gives me inspiration. And our dear friend Michaela Boehm.
Oh, nice. And then what really makes you cry? Like the real soft tears.
Well, you know what? I was wondering what you meant by that when you said makes you cry. I have different answers because I think um, there's there are different answers. So seeing my kids make a really smart decision that I wasn't really involved in outside of me makes me cry. Like,
Yeah, that's called the joy cry, not
a
the
joy
suffering.
cry.
Yeah,
That's
not the suffering kind. Yeah.
and then you want to know the suffering kind?
Yeah, I do.
Okay. Oh, the suffering one. That's a really good one. The suffering cry is third party information. So I'm really big on I can't, it just makes me cry to hear someone tell something to someone that can't then be repeated. So if I'm going to say, someone said this about you, but you now can't go translate it. So translating third party information for me is just, it's worthless use of time and energy in the world. And that just makes me cringe and cry.
That's a great answer. So what is your best personal workout, which is a fire question? How do you get your juices going?
Well, you would probably expect that I would answer this in one way, but I'm going to answer it the opposite, which is in the old days, that I would usually love to come on a podcast or be part of something where I'd say, oh my goodness, it's a 110-mile bike ride that I just did. And then now I'm going for a run in the afternoon while I'm in training for one of my races. But I think what the recognition of not having to crawl home for my workout anymore is been a real telling force in my life. And my coach, as I did competed in the Ironman and then a lot of other races, would say to me, he was the harness that was really my coach to not let me do so much. And I think that that came down to just trusting myself. So the hardest workout for me may be walking on the beach, which is
I
like
love your answer because you turn things. Yeah.
Rather than doing the 100-mile bike ride, I think it's harder for me not to put on my shoes and run to Montauk. It's easier for me, to do that. It's a lot harder to just walk.
Yeah. Well, we're all up against a challenge and yours is to be moderate. Okay. What foods do you love and eat most often? What's your go-to meal?
Well, I was raised, I guess I'd say Midwesterner, sort of Texan. My family's in the grocery business, so I kind of ate everything. I grew up on Funyuns and Gatorade, but I do love to eat healthy now. And I would just say I eat anything but olives.
You eat anything but olives?
I do not like olives. I do not like olives. No, I like olive oil. I love olive oil cake for anyone who wants to send me one. It's my favorite cake in the world, but I do not eat olives.
Very good to know. I'm going to remove them from your plate whenever I see you.
Please do. I'll eat anything, but you should know, I guess also growing up in the panhandle of Texas now, I live for anything ethnic, any kind of ethnic food, Asian, Thai, Chinese, you name it, Mediterranean, Israeli food. I'm all for it.
You're a world connoisseur. Okay. What book in your whole life has influenced you?
I couldn't answer this one with just one book, so I was going to give it in phases. But I think probably the most powerful book, as I look at the trajectory after reading this book, was The Untethered Soul. I think for sure that book really set me on a different path. And I think I also loved, and I read this in my 20s, and I've read it since and given it to a lot of friends, the book A Tree Grows in Brooklyn. Oh, yeah. And just the understanding of how a young woman grows up and grows into herself, and maybe seeing it from a different perspective of how I grew up as a teen and then went through life. I just thought it was a beautiful recognition of a life. And then my favorite book that I've loved to read to my children, which is so simple, the title says it all, and it's May I Bring a Friend. And so I love the idea of just every time you can bring someone along for the ride. And so I love this book of just, may I bring a friend? Come on, bring the friend, everyone's welcome. And so those are my 3 books.
Okay, well, I'm definitely loving you.
Oh, wait, I have one more.
One more. Okay.
One more. Well, now in my parenting phase, I would say that the one parenting book that has really helped me, which has the longest title, has been around for a long time, but I laughed and cried through it and have read it many times and taken many notes, is Get Out of My Life, But First Will You Take Me and Cheryl to the Mall?
Yes, I know that book. That's fabulous.
Fantastic book that explains teenage boys and girls and that they come out of their phases, and you just got to kind of sit in it.
You got to be there. Okay. This is a water, these images that reoccur, your recurring night dream or daydream, pick one.
I have both. Well, actually, I wish I was more of a daydreamer. I'm kind of working on that. I'm trying to use some of Eve Rodsky's creativity in the work. Eve Rodsky's written this great book on creativity in the workplace. but I would say that night dreams are two, probably one of them is that I can fly. I don't know that I'm flying away from something bad or flying away to something good, but that I can literally just fly around. And then the reoccurring dream that I have all the time is that I'm late for volleyball practice and I show up without my jersey. I had it last night. That I'm searching. I brought the white jersey. We're wearing the dark jersey. I'm at the match. We don't know what to do. I'm not going to get to play. And I'm thinking to myself, why did you not just pack both jerseys? And I have that dream all the time.
Okay, I promise you that we will talk about that dream another time and
Okay.
you'll be amazed at what it's really trying to say. But what I want to know is, did you ever not feel prepared in your volleyball years? Does this dream have any accuracy to it?
No, I was always on time and very diligent and very focused. But I will say I did once show up on the court against Duke. So it was very embarrassing. And the lights came down and I took my jacket off as they announced our numbers and I had my shirt on backwards. So I had my number on the front and I kind of remember that feeling of, now I can laugh at it, but it was this moment of like shame of all the lights. It was all the spotlight was on me, people laughing. And so I'm sure that has something to do with it.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. All right, I'm moving to this question. Fire, what creative project are you most proud of? And since you're a wizard of making creative projects, I can't even imagine which one you're most proud of.
Oh, goodness. Well, this question I was going to say to you, and you know the answer to this too, that I'm not quite ready to unleash that yet. It's coming. My most creative project has been brewing for some time. But I would hope that all of the founders that I'm invested in and that my team at work that I've built would say that I creatively reach out with ways for them to build their businesses, build their teams, and create partnerships in ways that other investors don't do, that I try to think like my relationships and my business relationships and my personal relationships sometimes are mixed, and that I try to think of them as holistically, that I'm just amplifying and I'm just helping, and I'm helping create growth and seeing people succeed. So I would say I have a big creative project that's coming, but it's just being unleashed, and it's been very internal for a long time.
Well, stay tuned. We'll be asking you about that in 2023.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, next question, Earth. And this is so important because all the women leaders I've ever met have had great failures or they wouldn't get to where they are. So what's the worst failure that you've had that has taught you the most?
Failure? What do you mean? Failure? I don't know what you're talking about.
That's right.
See, that's the answer. I think the idea with failure is I failed a million times in my life. And I think it was only, I tried to think of specific examples. There's so many, but I think that it was only when I was able to recognize when I had a failure, how helpful it was to make me recognize to not repeat it, that it was actually really a gift. And so it was only in that change that I didn't panic in the middle of failure. I don't know why. I just remember at one point, I just had this memory of being I was working at Sports Illustrated, and I remember creating a marketing deck for someone on my team, and I spelled the name of the company incorrectly on the front of the marketing deck, and they took it to the meeting, and I was so proud of it. And I said, "How did the meeting go?" And the person just threw the deck on my desk with the word circled, and I remember just feeling. But it's taught me to then try to proofread everything I do, and so anyone that works with me knows that I'm crazy about grammar and English. I'm probably going to have a million misspelled words in my emails now, but that I really care about the use of words.
I want to highlight what you just said. My own failures have always been instructive, and so it's up to me to get the lesson fast, but none of them have been wasted, not one.
Well, I would say they were not wasted, but it was only until I don't know what age it was or at what point in time I realized that they were helpful to me, that they were actually moving me forward rather than moving me backwards. And I was, the universe is conspiring for you, not against you. And so once you sort of let that knowledge come to you, then it changes the way that you see a failure, and you recognize, you know what, that opportunity maybe wasn't supposed to be there. So I'm glad it didn't happen in that way. And then another opportunity's got a door to come in on another side of the house.
Yes, I want to add one more thing to this, because this is one of my most important conversations mentoring young people. Not only is failure the path of any successful person at some point, but if you are having a failure it's not just about you, and you need your team and you need your friends and you need your crew to build you up and make that thing count. And so much of what we've been taught as women is shame, 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 go internal. When actually you make a mistake, you need all your people and you need them to help.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. And I think also in being able to deconstruct what is your part in a failure, and what are other people's parts in a failure, I think it helps you analyze the failure, and then you can recognize where you can add to the success in the future, and you can add to, I think just owning your own failure is like really, really powerful.
Powerful.
Like
okay, next question. This goes to this next question, which is a air question because it has to do with how you talk to yourself. What is the most loving thing you say to yourself when things are going really hard for you? What is your inner voice counsel?
What is my inner voice counsel? Oh, this one's easy. I just go, thanks, Glennon. We can do hard things.
Great. Okay.
I think we collectively, I'm not just doing this alone, and that, you know what, you got this.
Got it. Okay. The water question is, how would you define for yourself emotional safety? When do you feel emotionally safe? What has to be present?
I think that being able to sit with my initial instincts on things and have just conviction around my first, whether my first thoughts are correct or not, just really tapping into myself and my instincts. And if those instincts are to lean out and that I feel uncomfortable, maybe that's trying to tell me something. That my instincts are spot on, and I hope that translate into business and to my relationships and my parenting and my marriage. And the other thing I can't say that also doesn't help is just to have someone put their hand on your shoulder or to hold your hand. Like, again, the power of touch is really, really feels safe.
Yeah, healthy touch is my definite
sensual touch.
Love language. It is my love language. Okay. Last set of questions. What has been your most adventurous journey? High risk adventure journey. What have you done? Because boy, you've done a lot. Yeah.
For sure. I guess there's two. One, which I wasn't planning to say. One that I will say, I was planning to say, which is just jumps out on paper, is the idea that I took my kids. I just decided, this is pre-pandemic. I'm taking my kids out of school. I know it's a blessing to be able to do so. I know they're going to become ages where we're not going to be able to do it again. And we are leaving for the year and we are going to travel the world. I'm going to plan the curriculum with a host of other people, and we are going to go for it. And there were times when I was in countries and I would turn and say, how do we say thank you? How do we say please? We were moving so quickly and learning so much about cultures and societies. And I feel so grateful for those moments every day and hope that they somehow are imparted onto my kids as they get older. I'm already seeing the lessons that I'd hoped, just little things that have been ingrained in them. So that's definitely one. And then I think the most adventurous, well, I'll wait till you. I think it's probably your next question. I'll let you go. So adventure would be travel.
Question is,
what's hardest next?
Yeah, that's the real question. What's the hardest thing you've had to do?
Without question. And I think a lot of women can say this, and a lot of women may not even go down this path. They just may not want to do it, which is also fine. But I think the hardest thing for me to do was to believe my own story. Thank you, Amy. I think that says volumes. If we all just emblazon that in our heart to believe our own stories, especially as women, there's an incredible quote that I'm forgetting the author now. And she said, if one woman told every true detail about her life, the world would never be the same. Yeah, I think that's part of what my creative path is, that I tell you that I haven't unleashed. It's still fairly private, but I think just in being honest about my story and in sharing, I think that that's both healing and freeing to so many. Yeah, thank you. Okay, what are 2 or 3 qualities of your truest friends? Well, I love that my truest friends, and this has just sort of happened organically, but my truest friends are the ones that constantly say to me, Amy, we don't need you to give us anything. We don't need you to do anything for us. We don't need you to perform for us. We love you exactly as you are. And so when you send me a thank you note, I'm going to send it back or past that. And I think that it's those friends that truly see me. I think being seen by women, by other women, when you're truly seen for who you are without having to make, I mean, obviously to give back and to be part of the relationship, but for someone just to see you as who you are is really powerful. And those are my true friends. And
Yeah,
my friends and my friend group, by the way, is my friends from when I could barely speak.
yeah.
And then I've collected friends from, my closest friends from grade school, and I have my friends from high school and college, and I have my incredible work friends. And then I built this, as I often say, I built a hive of women around me, and just have so many incredible qualities that I'm grateful for every day.
When you say, I love you, what do you mean?
When I say I love you, it means that I have space for you, and I cherish so many parts of you, and that I still make space for the parts of you that I may not understand.
That's gorgeous. And I want to say that you give that kind of love and attention that you also desire, which is essence instead of image or performance.
No, that's
You
not.
really travel in essence, and it's a very big radiating field that you expand. So I want to thank you, Amy. And if you all want to find out more about your true elements, you've got to go to jenniferfreed.com and order my new book, A Map to Your Soul. Thank you, Amy.
But there's one more I didn't get to answer.
Oh, well, say what it is.
There's one more that I love.
Okay.
That was one of the easiest for me to answer as I was thinking about my questions. You asked me, how do you approach things that you're scared of?
It's a good one. Yeah.
And I decided, it actually just came to me. It wasn't something I had to think about, which was, fortunately or unfortunately, I just dive in headfirst into the deep end. So I don't know.
That's so fiery Aries of you.
Is that
oh my God. Aries says leap first, think later. So that's
yeah.
miracle.
I have no idea. Sometimes I don't even know how deep it is, but I'm going in head first. I don't care how cold the water is. We'll talk about it after.
Well, just so you know, your sun sign in Aries rules the head first, think later. And it's actually, we need that pioneering energy. It's just lucky you do think later, because I know you're very concerned and considerate of impact. But anyway, it's been such a pleasure to speak to you, especially today. I'm so grateful for your time.